for coming.
Rob, welcome to Eretz Yisrael, to Yerushalayim and to the Kotel.
It is a privilege to be in Eretz Yisrael.
It's just good to have you here this evening.
Thank you. And to be here in the 50th anniversary of Yom Yerushalayim is a great success.
Well, Rob, thank you so much. And here at the Kotel, couldn't be in a better place.
I remember with founders, your bar mitzvah, your brother's bar mitzvahs.
Wonderful.
I girl. Come this side.
Rav Yosef Shlomo Kahneman was a man of immense energies. He was appointed the Rabbi of Ponevezh, one of the largest Jewish Slav in Lithuania. After World War II, all his institutions were destroyed, and the Ponevezh Rav emigrated to Eretz Yisrael in the year 1940. He began to rebuild his yeshiva, a seemingly impossible task at the time. There is a famous story that during the fundraising, David Ben Gurion turned to the Ponevezh Rabbi and said, "Rabbi, you are dreaming." He replied, "I may be dreaming, but I'm not asleep." Rav Tanzer, our Rosh Yeshiva, similarly had a dream of building our community in Johannesburg. Baruch Hashem, he has built an amazing, vibrant kehillah and a remarkable school which I feel privileged to have attended. Speaking on behalf of the immediate alumni, one of the things we have definitely learned from the Rosh Yeshiva is that life should always be energized with a sense of purpose, new goals and dreams. My name is Aaron Chazen, and since my graduation from Yeshiva College, I have spent a year and 4 months in Yeshiva Taret Zion and will soon be drafting into the Israeli Defense Force. For myself, along with many of the other Talmidim and Talmidot here tonight, it was a dream to attend the Yeshiva or Midrasha. As a result of the derech that the Rosh Yeshiva has provided us, we are currently in Medinat Yisrael, learning Torah and living our dreams. I speak for all the Talmidim when I say we have learned a tremendous amount from the Rosh Yeshiva. From your Friday morning sichot to just being in your presence. Be'ezrat Hashem, we will continue to learn and be inspired by your immense wisdom, and will continue actualizing our dreams.
Good.
To welcome everybody here. Normally you welcome people from far and wide. Over here tonight we had to welcome people from near. So just to get here was a huge effort, and we really appreciate it. And really thank you to everybody for making the effort here. And of course, only for one man would everybody make such effort, and that is for the Rosh Yeshiva, and of course to Marsha, to Rabbi and Tanzer, and welcome to both of you, to Eretz Yisrael, to Yerushalayim, and to your family. Wonderful to have everybody with us. To our chairman, Mr. Bender's on the way. Some of the members of our Board of Governors will be here soon. To our supporters, to our alumni, and to friends. It really is amazing to be here and to see and witness the amazing connection that the Rosh Yeshiva has with everybody, and that everybody has with the Rosh Yeshiva. And I think here we are looking at the Makom HaMikdash, seeing the place which I think is the ultimate Nekudat Chibur, the ultimate place of connection, where we know that the Midrash talks about the two Yerushalayim, the Yerushalayim Shel Mata, the Yerushalayim Shel Mala, the Jerusalem of below, the earthly Jerusalem, and the heavenly Jerusalem. And right now we're sitting in a place where we can just look out the window and see where those two places meet, and we know about the concentric circles of Kedusha, and everything comes towards this space. And it's the place where we connect heaven and earth, where we connect earth to heaven. And I think the Rosh Yeshiva is that ultimate person who's done that for so many of us. He's taken the incredible heavenly values of the Torah, he's brought them down to each and every single one of us, inspired ourselves and our families in a way of bringing Shem Shamayim down into the small intricacies in every single element of our lives, every single element of who we are. Yerushalayim is also known, in Tehillim, David HaMelech described it so beautifully when he described Yerushalayim as Yerushalayim Habniyah Ki'ir Shechubrala Yachtav, that Yerushalayim, the built-up city, is a city that connects everything together, binds everything together. Some understandings of that's exactly that, of the heaven and the earth that it binds together. The Gemara in Chagiga learns out famously that it's Ir Shosed Kol Yisrael Chaverim, the city that makes all of Israel friends. And if there's one of many different facets of our dear Rosh Yeshiva, it's that facet of bringing people together, of connecting with people. And it's my zchut to spend almost every day with the Rosh Yeshiva, and as we go around to different people, different supporters, to reaching out to the kids as we educate them. It's amazing to see the connection that Rosh Yeshiva has with so many people. And so many times we'll see how he reaches out to someone, tells them about the connections that he has to their family that they barely knew that they had, and where they come from. And they find their space of how they connect to the world, how they connect to one another, and just that amazing connection that they have to the Rosh Yeshiva, and how the Rosh Yeshiva has allowed that to permeate amongst our community, amongst our people, and to see so many people from so many different generations coming here tonight is a testament to that kesher that the Rosh Yeshiva was able to have and does have on a personal and special level with each and every single person. And it is a zchut for me to be standing here. I currently fill the role of Managing Director at Yeshiva College, and the great zchut I have is to be in the shadow of the Rosh Yeshiva, but really to see the connection that he has with each and every single person here. And tonight we pay testament. We celebrate 50 years of Yerushalayim at the same time as we celebrate the 50 years of service of the Rosh Yeshiva, where in South Africa we had a beautiful banquet put together. That was where these Yeshiva College yarmulkes were developed, and a beautiful video was put together we're going to share with you now before the Rosh Yeshiva addresses us. So it's the ultimate coming together of so many people coming from South Africa and around the world to be in Yerushalayim together as the year that brings everything together, as the Rosh Yeshiva Rabbi Tanzer, who is the ultimate person who brings so many people together and has built a community through love and through care and through chesed, and ultimately that brings us all here together to share in his jubilee of service with all of you tonight, and to share in the jubilee of Yerushalayim as it comes together so beautifully tonight. So we're going to show you the video. If you can't see it from where you're sitting, please just go a little bit back. It's a few minutes, about 12 minutes, and then it'll be a great honor to give the Rosh Yeshiva the platform. As we spoke about before, just a great tribute to the Rosh Yeshiva. And there's been everybody coming through together tonight to fight the element and to be with us here tonight. It really is a great zchut to be with everybody. And without any further ado, after watching the beautiful video that showcased the tremendous development that the Rosh Yeshiva brought to Johannesburg, that brought to South African Jewry, and ultimately to a community that's strong in Israel and building many institutions in Israel, really is testament and tribute to everything that the Rosh Yeshiva has built and sown over many, many years and to many generations. Without any further ado, it gives me great pleasure to call up the Rosh Yeshiva.
Good evening. Good evening, is it on? Good evening, dear friends. I'm at a loss of words right now. I find it very difficult to speak to you. First of all, you heard my dear friend, Rabbi Bernstein, dynamic managing director. All of us get a hold of what? Get a hold of it. All right, got a hold of next to your mouth. All right. I say, if you heard the words of Rabbi Bernstein, a dynamic managing director, who does so much for all of us, for me personally, and for all the children at Yeshiva, you would have had the wrong impression, because he wasn't talking about me really at all. As a matter of fact, that video gave me had a problem, because I think if I watched it twice, I might believe it, and that would be problematic. As a matter of fact, all I can tell you about the video was, you notice when Uriah declared the state of Israel, you notice the Six-Day War was won, you notice the clerk released Mandela, you notice the Republic of South Africa was born, you notice we won the World Cup for soccer. You know I had nothing to do with that, right? The same goes for the other stuff too. The same goes for the other stuff too. Marsh and I were fortunate to be there. We were fortunate to be there, and hopefully didn't kill it. But at the end of the day, when things happen that are positive, a lot of people make it happen. And of course, first and foremost, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So also got to the Shmaya. Nobody is smart enough to do these things, and certainly not I and not us. So, but thank you very much. I enjoyed it. My mother would have enjoyed it even more, but I truly enjoyed it. I should mention everyone, welcome everyone by name, because I know everyone for a long, long time. Some people from the bris, of course not the girls, and etc. And some people from along the road. And I don't want to mention names, but first of all, I welcome, of course, our chairman of the Yeshiva College Board of Governors, chairman of EXCO, my very dear friend, and also former student of Yeshiva, Rabbi. First of all, he's a rabbi. Second of all, his father was a rabbi. Anyhow, Israel, who is totally committed to our children at Yeshiva. He's our chairman, and you have no idea how many hours every single day he actually gives to the children of Yeshiva College, for which words can't thank you enough. May Hashem thank you and bless you with all the Baruch HaTov in the world, and thank you. I first want to thank everyone for getting here, because Donald Trump tried to sabotage us, as you know. And he probably almost succeeded, but he didn't. And for that, I thank you all very much. You're the ones who made it happen. I cannot mention names, but I do need to mention, first of all, one of the first students I had, Rabbi Selman Franklin, was here with Eileen, who is one of our first students, who gave a lifetime of service to the rabbinic community in South Africa, in Australia, and in the United States. And today he lives part of the time in Modi'in. Thank you, Selman. Thank you, Eileen. Thank you for being here. Your friendship means an awful lot to us. And at the same time, Rabbi Pinny Cohen was the only South African who sits on the Hanhola at the Yeshiva, the famous Yeshiva that all of our students go to. Welcome, Pinny, and thank you so much for your great friendship. And to their own partnership, who represents us so well in everything that he does, because the heart and the decency and the humanity and the brilliance means so much to us. And thank you to Doron, and thank you all for coming here tonight and spending time with us. I know you would be busy learning, and I thank you very much for that. And then I have to mention one person, my good friend Phyllis, sitting right over here next to me here. Not only because I know Phyllis, since she moved to Glen Hazel, it was Felix Road, I think, the first house you had in Glen Hazel, but because of the commitment she and the late Joe gave to Yeshiva for a lifetime. To Yeshiva, to Mizrahi, to all the causes that are near to dear in us, Joe and Phyllis were involved very shivaruba, totally, over their heads, they gave it all, and thank you very much for Phyllis for being here. All right. You know, I'm supposed to tell a story they tell me, you know. First thing, I want to touch on a few subjects, but very briefly. I don't want to get involved. There's certain things that one has to say at such an occasion, especially representing Yeshiva College. It's not even personal. The first thing is, the story is told of a Jew in a shtetl in the Haim who went to Warsaw. A Polish Jew went to Warsaw for the first time in his life, and he came back, and his friend says to him, "So, what did you see in Warsaw?" "Oh," he says, "Warsaw, I saw strange things in Warsaw, very strange things." He said, "What did you see?" He said, "I met a Jew who knew the whole Torah by heart. I met a Jew who was an atheist. I met a Jew who was a capitalist. I met a Jew who was a communist." He says, I said, "So? In Warsaw there are millions of people. You have to meet all kind of people." "No," he says, "he was the same person." and with these words, you see, I started speaking in Renata 4 or 5 years ago when we went to Shabbos there. And those words I pay tribute to the Olim. I want to pay tribute to all of our Talmidim, our friends, our Haverim, who made their homes in Israel, who make their homes in Israel, who are raising your families in Israel. It gives us a lot of nachas. A lot of nachas to see that you are living the dream that so many Jews have and don't quite make it. But you're living it, you're doing it, and whatever you're doing is a source of nachas and inspiration to every one of us all over the world, and I thank you for that. And while I'm welcoming the Olim, I want to welcome the younger people, the groups of MTA and the Rova, the boys and girls who are here spending their gap year after Matric here in Eretz Yisrael. You're here tonight. I'm glad you're here tonight. It means a lot to me that you are here. Thank you so much for being and coming here. And Mitzvah Hashem, future Olim, sometime in the future, Mitzvah Hashem. Thank you so much for being here. It's the week of the 6th-day war. That's why some of us came. The Mechamitchesha Teremim, it is not the 6th-day war, it's the 50th anniversary of the 6th-day war. And there's English writer said it so many years ago, we are commemorating and celebrating and remembering the fact that the city without a people waited for the people without a city for 2,000 years. That's what happened 50 years ago today. The city without a people waited for the people without a city, and we are reunited. It was 50 years ago. And I like to remember, because 50 years ago, some of you weren't born, some of you were very, very young, but I was 31 years old, which is not quite a baby, and I remember South Africa, Johannesburg. What happened in the days leading up to the Yeshiva? It was traumatic. There was terror. You can't believe how upset people were. And the reason was simple. Because 1967 is not that far from 1945. And everyone remembered what happened in the 1940s. We had survived the Churban of Europe. We had survived the worst catastrophe of our people. We had survived it. And all of a sudden, sounds were heard, noise was being made, like it could happen again. And in Johannesburg, they didn't have too many Holocaust survivors. Nevertheless, there was trauma, great trauma. And there was a sacrifice sale in the city hall where people came to give. People gave their fur coats. They didn't know what to give. They had to give something. People had to do something. As a matter of fact, one member of our community, who I won't name, but we wouldn't be Lashon Hara if I did, made her contribution, a very unusual contribution at the time. She became a Shomer Shabbos. And from that lady to today, there are three families with grandchildren and great-grandchildren, all Shomer Shabbos. Because that was her idea of what to do, and hopefully that Hashem should be on our side. And the passions of the week were the same as we had this week. In other words, when the Torah says, you may chase 1,000 or 1,000, or nobody may chase you and you might run. And we didn't know what's going to happen. And we didn't know what we're privileged to be. And I, this 31-year-old kid from New York, from Cleveland, from Tells, didn't know what to do either. And somehow I thought of something which made an impression on all the students of the yeshiva at that time, of which there might have been 60 boys. It was a high school, 60 boys possibly, and 67. And we did something unusual. We didn't study secular studies for 4 days. For 4 days, the yeshiva went on a 24-hour day cycle of learning Torah and saying Tehillim. 24 hours for 3 or 4 days. The boys in the hostel took the evenings, that was easy. The younger kids took the morning, and the day was divided. And you know what? Every one of those people, if you remember it now, they remember it. I remember it as clear as day. It made an impression. Why I thought of it, I don't know. But I thought of it, and it makes an impression on me to think that we did what we could do. You know, we weren't soldiers. We weren't in a position to give millions. We did what we could do, which is the most anyone could do under all circumstances. And so, it's a memory. 50 years since we had the reunification of Yerushalayim, the great event. You know, I want to say a few words about the history of Yeshiva College, because everyone here has a connection somehow. What was South Africa like? What was Johannesburg like in those days? I have to tell you that the truth of the matter is there was no natural constituency, which is another nice way of saying nobody needed it. Nobody needed it, and very few people wanted it. I remember Rabbi Hamler and I walking into a shop on Jeffrey Street. In those days, we didn't make appointments, you know, different world. We walked into a shop, and we said, we're collecting for the yeshiva. The guy said, great, come on in. I'm happy to help. We came all excited. He says, Jerusalem, eh? We said, no, Johannesburg. Johannesburg, you're going to get out of here. And they said, we don't need that here. We're running away from that. That's not what it had no natural constituency. But it had a dreamer. The late Rabbi Kasovsky had a cholam. He had a dream. And he had, as the video showed you, a partner, Rabbi Brunner, who was a driver, and many others, Lou Franklin, father of Selwyn, and other people who were totally committed to the idea. They were individuals. And nevertheless, they started the Yeshiva College, which was only a boys' high school. Now you imagine a boys' high school with no nursery school and no primary school. So where did the kids come from? Some came from the country. Their fathers were reverends who wanted to save their children, and they did. Some of the big time from home today, the Kramer brothers, the Barron brothers, etc., and others. And then you had a few members of an Yeshiva who managed to convince their parents to let them go, that they were King David already. And after that, anybody was welcome. You couldn't afford to turn anyone away. So imagine what I found in 1963. My Rosh Yeshiva were bottle cats. I came from Brooklyn, Williamsburg. I studied in Tells for 13 years. Boys from Tells and from Brooklyn don't do Africa. Don't go Africa. The only reason I did Africa was I married a girl who didn't come from New York. Right? And my wife happened to be blessed with a sense of adventure. She was sorry it wasn't Hong Kong or maybe even Mars, but she settled for Johannesburg. So we came here, and what I found was, we shouldn't say this too loud, but when we looked around, we found out that we were the first Shomer Shabbos people in Glen Hazel. Can you imagine this? The first. I said, how could your apostle do this to me? How could my Yeshiva send me here? And that's what he did. I said, look, I'll tell my wife I made a mistake. She says, let's go home. But I have no job and I have 3 children. All right, we came for 2 years. We came for 2 years, we'll stick it out. Stick out the 2 years. Okay, we lost the calendar, we lost the watch, and we stayed a little longer. And Baruch Hashem for that. I'm grateful for the fact that we stayed. And today, of course, as you know, Baruch Hashem, we have 1,000 children. We have a shul that has 7 million on Shabbos. We have a kollel, we have a midrashah, we have a mesifta. We have all these things that learning Torah on a level unimagined of Johannesburg in those days, but it's not the same Johannesburg. It is a different Johannesburg, and whoever played a role in that, on all fronts, every hashkafa made a contribution, made all this happen all together. And so that's our story. I already told you my story. We came from New York, etc., etc. How was I welcomed in South Africa as this boy who came from Telz? Don't forget, I was a high school graduate. That's it. A high school graduate, and as a matter of fact, Telz was in Cleveland, didn't have regents or matrics. It was all in-house examinations. There was no big deal to graduate high school. Anyhow, how was I accepted? I graduated. The legendary leader of the Board of Deputies at that time was a man called Glassman, special man. If you knew him, he was a true leader. And Glassman said to me, when he met me, he says, Rabbi Tanzer, he says, you're at the wrong place, you're the wrong person, the wrong place at the wrong time. He says, a boy from Telz is not to do anything in South Africa. You have no room here. But he says, I think that your school is going to provide us with rabbis, so I'm going to have to talk to you anyhow. As it turned out, as a matter of fact, as you saw in the video, in the generation before Rabbi Goldfein's Yeshiva Gdola produced graduates, we produced most of the rabbis in this country, though they got their higher education overseas, in Yeshiva, in America, wherever they went. But we supplied the rabbis to the community for around 20 years, 25 years, of which we were very proud indeed. And then there was an editor of the Zionist record who used a word that I couldn't pronounce and didn't know what it was. He called me an obscurantist. An obscurantist? What's an obscurantist? I still don't know today what obscurantist. I probably was one. Whatever it was, we had a great time. We had a great time. And we had friends. And the late Louis Rabinowitz, who at first was not necessarily a friend of Yeshiva, but I met him in Yerushalayim on Rehov Yaffa in the 60s. He said to me, Tanzer, he said to me, you're a guy who's enjoying this world and the next world right now. I'm jealous. I never forgot that. You see a compliment, you don't forget. And so everybody said, let me conclude. I want to thank you all again for coming. Very, very, it means a lot to us. It really helps us relate to the last 50 years and to you and to your families and all that you represent. I'm going to conclude with a word that I saw from Rav Kook. Rav Kook, as you know, was the great Oyev Yisrael and the great lover of Yerushalayim, of Zion. Rebbe B'tuv Yerushalayim, to him it was all about B'tuv. And when someone came to Rav Kook and they used to run down the issue, those days it was a issue, there was no state yet. They told him about the Chilul Shabbos, the Tarfus, this and that. He turned away. He would listen to him. He turned away. And then the guy would say to him, Rebbe, it's true. You know it's true. So why are you turning away from me? He says, I'm turning away anyhow. He says, because that's not what I want to hear, and that's not what you're supposed to say. And then Rav Kook said the following. He said, he says, an unexpected source, with which I conclude now. Said Rav Kook, he says, you're not supposed to be like the people of the Mon. Don't be like the Oichle Amon. But the Oichle Amon, what was wrong with the Oichle Amon? He says, for 40 years, manna came down from heaven. It was called Lechem Elikim, God's bread, bread of the angels. It had this special gift about it. Whatever food you liked, it tasted like. You could taste whatever you wanted. It was special. And most people loved it, but some people hated it. Some people hated it. And you know why? Said Rav Kook, you know why it's a Gemara in Yuma. You know why they hated it? Because It said tzaddikim woke up in the morning and the one who was in the house. Beinim, those who were not quite tzaddikim, had to walk outside the house for a few meters down, etc. down, and then they found it. But Rishoyim, those who were wicked, the negative people, the nasty people, they had to walk to the other end of the fence again. Right? So in other words, by how far you had to walk for your mom, everyone knew who you were. The community could judge you. You know, you found a mon in your house, they knew you were a tzaddik. You found it outside your house, you're okay too. You had to walk across town. You were advertising on one of those, and that you would be upsetting to anybody. Right? But he says, don't be from the Yerushalayim one. Be from those who see the positive. Be from those who do the decent. And on the side, all of you who live in Yisrael, and all of us who come to enjoy being with you in Yisrael, we are enjoying the simcha and the nachas of the Yeshiva of Yisrael, of Yom Yerushalayim 50th anniversary, and Mitzvah Hashem, may Mashiach come be as God Tzedek, Amen, Amen. Thank you very much.
You'll forgive me for not using a Mac, but I don't need to. It's always difficult. It's always difficult to speak after the Rosh Yeshiva on the rare occasion that no problem, Rosh Yeshiva. On the rare occasion that I've agreed to speak on the same platform as the Rosh Yeshiva, it has always been before the Rosh Yeshiva, because at least once I've done that, I know that we're going to hear the best orator thereafter. The point that the Rosh Yeshiva made is that he came here to celebrate Yom Yerushalayim, the Yovel of Yom Yerushalayim. I just came here to honor the Rosh Yeshiva because we're better to do that than Berumoy Shaloilam. So I wanted to just say there's one interesting facet that the Rosh Yeshiva and his good Rebbitzin have achieved that I think impacts upon me personally, and people need to understand the kind of commitment that takes. The Rosh Yeshiva glibly said that when he arrived here, he was the first and only Shomer Shabbos in the Glen Hazel area. Imagine today the effect that has had not only on the people who he directly influenced and who his good Rebbitzin directly influenced, but on Dor Dorot, on the generations that came after that, on all those people who themselves were mashpia other people, who themselves influenced other people. It is not without a great degree of circumspection when we say that Rabbi and Rebbitzin Tanzer changed the milieu of Johannesburg Jewry. They changed what South African Jewry looked like. That in itself is an incredible achievement. But it's all the more so when I look personally at what I do. And no matter that I may be a Yichas Seeker, and I may like the title of chairman of Yeshiva College, my kids don't like it, but I like it. That I may like it. It is not only that but we do that as a result of a deep personal relationship with Rosh Yeshiva. And yes, maybe we offer a slight slicha mechila, because if we would have organized this properly, and if Trump wouldn't have been here, and if Netanyahu and Ruby Rivlin didn't allow me to get through, if we would have just had the time to organize it, then everybody who's got a kesher to the Rosh Yeshiva, and when I say a kesher to the Rosh Yeshiva, not Shalom Aleichem, but a deep personal kesher to the Rosh Yeshiva. There is nothing that I have seen over 30 years of being involved with Yeshiva College. Okay, as a student I was involved. Not that involved, but I was involved. But over 30 years of being involved with Yeshiva College, there's one thing that the Rosh Yeshiva stands for. Every single person who has crossed his path has a deep personal kesher with Rosh Yeshiva. If any one of us could achieve that with some of our friends, with only a portion of our friends, imagine what we could achieve in our own lives. Imagine how we could be mashpia. Imagine what we could give to Klal Yisrael. And that in itself is an amazing. That's the kind of hakarat tov you give here, standing in the Simcha Hall in front of the Kotel. Why do you give that hakarat tov here? Because you see, Baruch Hashem, that Yeshiva College produces 30 or 40 Talmidim every single year who come out to Eretz Yisrael to learn. You see the Talmidim of Yeshiva College who are teaching them today. You see Roshei Kollel who are themselves mashpia hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Talmidim. That is the effect of one person, one couple, on a world. It's not the effect on one couple on Israel Bender and on our own channel. It's the effect, I was just checking you were listening. It is the effect of a couple who dramatically changed the geography, changed the history of Klal Yisrael. When we say that the streets between Long Avenue and Ridge Road, do you remember those? Sorry, Long Avenue and Ridge Road. Much easier to find that with a car and Waze than we used to find that. That little corner block between Long Avenue and Ridge Road is due to the Rosh Yeshiva, and if people don't understand what it means for 50 years to commit yourself to build an unbelievable institution, and an institution of real B'nai Torah, real people who felt for the Torah, and when they got in there they didn't have the same feelings. If anybody can achieve a fraction of that, then how great would Klal Yisrael be? And it's not only that you stand here, and pay tribute to them for all the Torah that they've taught and for all the commitment that they've made. It's the fact that every single person, me included, who has a relationship today with Yeshiva College, has that relationship because the Rosh Yeshiva built it. He built it with the Mendel Kaplans of the world, he built it with the Gerald Lasners of the world, he built it with great donors that we have, and he built it with great Rabbonim that we produced. That in itself is the ultimate achievement. The Rosh Yeshiva gesund soll sein, together with your Rebbe. And maybe Shana is not enough. You should live a gesund life, and you should continue to be mashpia Klal Yisrael, because every child that you take into Yeshiva College without a yarmulke, and you put a yarmulke on his head, he ultimately can influence worlds and influence Klal Yisrael only for the good. It is a pleasure to be here with all of our friends from Eretz Yisrael, those who've made their homes here and those who've come to celebrate probably one of Klal Yisrael's greatest. I came here because I figured I'm not going to live till the 100th, and at least I could tell my Einiklach that I was here for the 50th. But Rosh Yeshiva, you should continue to be mashpia Klal Yisrael through your individual personal kesher with every single person that you come across. There's nobody who doesn't like the Rosh Yeshiva. For a Hagaloy.
Once again, a big thank you to everybody for being here, and a big tribute to Rosh Yeshiva. Thank you to our chairman for everything he does day in, day out, and for everything that you are and represent. The Landers of Yeshiva College as well. And of course to Cheryl, who has been Moser Nefesh to put tonight together. Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody. And please God enjoy the view, enjoy the Rosh Yeshiva. Please God at Manav Esrim and it's wonderful to meet so many of you. It's wonderful to see so many people. I'm sure everybody's enjoying seeing one another. Dessert is served, and Yom Yerushalayim Salah.
Let's have
The miraculous event of the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948 created a resurgence of Jewish pride, identity, and passion all around the Jewish world. The Jewish Day School movement in South Africa was founded in this way. In April 1950, at the B'nai Akiva conference in Johannesburg, and at the urging of the Rabbi of Mizrahi, Rabbi Dr. Michael Kasowski, a resolution was adopted to establish a Yeshiva school in Johannesburg. the resolution was accepted by the National Conference of Hapoel HaMizrahi. Only 3 years later, in 1953, the Mizrahi and Bnei Akiva movements founded the first Torah school in Southern Africa, the Bnei Akiva Yeshiva, which would later be called the Yeshiva College. Under the leadership of Rabbi Kosowski and the first dean, Rabbi David Saunders, the yeshiva grew from a handful of boys to 50 young men in its first 10 years by 1963. During these years, alongside the great pioneering efforts of Rabbi Kosowski, another outstanding leader emerged to play a major role in the growth of Yeshiva College, Rabbi Joseph Bronner. In 1963, a young rabbi from Telz Yeshiva in Cleveland, Ohio, was brought out to serve as the Associate Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Avraham Tanzer. At this very time, Israel elected a new Prime Minister, Levi Eshkol, and a new President, Zalman Shazar. The Tanzers arrived in South Africa against the backdrop of far-reaching political events, which isolated South Africa internationally. Sharpeville, which had occurred only 3 years before, had resulted in a prolonged national state of emergency. 1963, the year of their arrival, also coincided with events leading up to the historic Ravonian treason trial. A lesser couple may have been daunted by such ominous unrest, but Rabbi and Mrs. Tanzer were clearly made of sterner stuff. How the times have changed. During the Tanzers' very first year in South Africa, they established a small minyan in Glen Hazel, which took place in the school library. Amazingly, this was the first minyan in the entire Glen Hazel area, and there were less than 5 Shomrei Shabbat families at the time. This small minyan has grown into the Yeshiva College campus, with 7 regular Shabbat morning minyanim, attracting over 1,000 people of all ages on a regular Shabbat. In 1966, Rabbi Tanzer was promoted to Rosh Yeshiva, and under the leadership of Rabbi and Mrs. Tanzer, Yeshiva College School has enjoyed explosive growth with around 1,000 learners, and today is not only the first, but the largest Torah school in Southern Africa. The fledgling minyan in the library grew over a 3-year period to an active and vibrant community of over 200 families. The residents of the Selwyn Siegel Hostel began joining the shul on a regular basis and had their own seats provided over the Amin Noraim. At this time in Israel, the miraculous Six-Day War had just transpired, with the returning of the old city of Jerusalem and the Kotel to Jewish sovereign control for the first time in almost 2,000 years. Yitzhak Rabin chose to name this war the Six-Day War in order to evoke the 6 days of creation. On South African shores, in that same year, a creation of our own was taking place. The Menorah Primary School, the first Torah primary school in Southern Africa, was founded with 70 children in 4 classes. Interestingly, 1967 was the year in which Dr. Chris Barnard performed the world's first successful heart transplant. On some analogous level, it was as if Rabbi Tanzer had activated the heart of a burgeoning Jewish community. A girls' high school was established in 1969, and in that very same year, the Tanzer's youngest daughter was born. In the aftermath of the Six-Day War, they named her Siona, reflecting the family's love of Zion, Israel. Yeshiva College launched a Yeshiva Gdolah in 1973, and Rabbi Tanzer brought his close friend Rabbi Israel Goldfein to South Africa to serve as its head, with around 30 students studying on the Yeshiva College campus as part-time university students and full-time Yeshiva students. 1976, the year of the Soweto riots, was a period of turbulence and uncertainty that sparked both mass immigration and Aliyah. Amongst those that remained, an increasing number of families in various parts of Johannesburg sought to explore their Jewish roots. What better place to do so than in Glen Hazel? In that same year, the new and beautiful Glen Hazel Shul was officially opened on the Yeshiva College campus to accommodate the continuous growth of the community. Just 2 years later, in 1978, Rabbi Goldstein was able to branch out to create what has become the Yeshiva Gedolah of Johannesburg, a spin-off of the Yeshiva College campus. In 1979, Rabbi Tanzer brought Rabbi Aaron Pfeiffer to South Africa to head up the newly created Solomon Bronner Rabbinic Academy. At a later stage, Rabbi Pfeiffer founded the Yeshiva Maharsha community, another spin-off of the Yeshiva College campus. The new school building to house the Leila Bronner Girls High School was built in 1980. This honored many remarkable years of contribution of Rabbi Joseph Bronner and Professor Leila Bronner's contribution to Mizrahi, Emunah, and the Yeshiva College campus. In this same year in Israel, a basic law was passed entitled Jerusalem, Capital of Israel, strengthening the 1967 annexation of the Old City as the eternal capital of the State of Israel. In 1988, Rabbi Tanzer is appointed President of the South African Rabbinic Association and a member of the Gauteng Council of the South African Jewish Board of Deputies. 1990 heralded the beginning of the demise of apartheid as F.W. de Klerk announced the unbanning of the ANC, PAC, and SACP alongside the release of Nelson Mandela. There is no doubt that in times of social, political, and economic change and turmoil, man searches for order and predictability. In terms of the Jewish community, many previously unaffiliated Jews and Jewish families found meaning and clarity within the warmth and cohesion of the unique Glen Hazel community which Rabbi and Mrs. Tanzer so lovingly created. In 1994, Nelson Mandela became the country's first democratically elected president. In 1995 was a proud and eventful year for Israel, South Africa, the Tanzers, and the Glen Hazel community. Jerusalem 3,000-year celebrations began in Israel. At this very time, Rabbi and Mrs. Tanzer's groundbreaking work caught the eye of the international community, and the school was awarded the prestigious Jerusalem Prize for Excellence in Jewish Education. In addition to South Africa's proud victory in the Rugby World Cup in the same year, Mrs. Tanzer was appointed the Dean of the Girls' High School, an appointment which came after decades of fulfilling many inspiring teaching positions. In 2000, and to cater to the growing needs of the Shul campus, a beautiful additional facility was built to accommodate the growth of the Tzirei Tzion Minyan, later becoming the Mizrahi Yeshiva Shul. In Israel, Birthright was launched, which would bring 350,000 young adults from all over the world on free learning trips to Israel in the ensuing years. Mark Shuttleworth blasted off into outer space in 2002, while Torah learning grew to even greater heights at the school with the launch of the Masifta Boys High School Extension Program, and later the Shalhevet Girls High School Learning Program. The Yeshiva celebrated its Jubilee year in 2003, along with Rabbi and Mrs. Tanzer's 40 years of dedicated service. 2007 was a year for recognizing icons. Rabbi Tanzer was appointed as honorary life member of the South African Rabbinic Association, while Shimon Peres was voted in as the State of Israel's 9th president. 2007 proves a celebratory year for South African sport, with the Springboks going on to defeat the English 15-6 in the 2007 Rugby World Cup. 2 years later, in 2009, Rabbi Tanzer is honored as a worthy recipient of the Eric Sampson Mendel Kaplan Communal Service Award for for outstanding service to Jewish causes in South Africa. 2010 was a year of great expansion. Israel opened its gates to 8,000 Falashamura, descendants of the Ethiopian Jews, while South Africa hosted many hundreds of thousands of tourists for the World Cup soccer final. In that same year, Yeshiva College campus in Mizrahi launched the Beit Mordechai Campus Kollel at the heart of the Yeshiva campus. The girls' high school celebrated the completion of the multi-purpose triple-story complex, housing a Beit Midrash, auditorium, boardroom, computer center, and canteen.
Rabbi Tanzer rocks.
It is so hard to imagine what Johannesburg Jewry in general, the Glen Hazel area and Yeshiva College specifically, would have looked like had a certain young 20-something-year-old couple, Abraham and Marcia Tanzer, not arrived on South African shores 50 years previously. Tonight, we all salute and pay tribute to you, our Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi and Mrs. Tanzer, and your family, for the immeasurable role that you played and continue to play, and the thousands of people's lives you continue to transform. One family at a time, one person at a time,